Amber Theoharis along with James Jones and Eric Allen, and there is no way to sugarcoat it. That was not an acceptable product as the Raiders lose this one 31-0 to the Kansas City Chiefs. They are now 2-5 on the season, and not only were they shut out for the first time since 2023, you remember that Vikings 3-0 loss back then at the end of the 23 season, they only had 3 first downs, and that is a new record for lows for the Raiders. They hadn't done that since 2008, so setting records for lows, it just was an uninspired performance. And Eric, what did you take away as you were watching this game?
Well, going into the game, I thought physicalness would be the most important thing for this football team. Win the line of scrimmage, giving the Raiders an opportunity to utilize the best person they had, and that's Ashton Jeanty on the offense. They did neither one of those things. I just thought that the lack of physicalness on this football team was evident right away. Just looked like the performance on defense, they didn't know what they wanted to do, is play zone, play man. The Kansas City Chiefs today beat us at every single level as far as playing football. One of those
I think
days.
he's echoing Raider Nation's sentiments. I mean, I think that's it right there.
Yep.
We're a better football team than this, man. We are. We're a better football team than this, and we're not showing it. And that's the most disappointing thing. We have good players, and I know we have certain injuries, but when you talk about 3 first downs, now we got to talk about, are we preparing the right way? Are we doing the right things during the week? I understand it's the Kansas City Chiefs, but we played against way better Kansas City Chiefs teams in the past than we played against today. And we have better players today. So it's just frustrating because, number one, I believe that we are a better football team than this. We can put a better product out there than this, and it's stressful to watch that out there. I mean, 3 first downs. I mean, that's rough. I truly believe that you can hand the ball off to number 2 and get 3 first downs. In the football game. And 3 first downs. What's that going to do to y'all on defense? 3 first downs.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes.
You're on the field. They're able to, the screens today were just killing us. They're at the second level, it seems like almost every time. The tackling issues came up today again on defense. It's really frustrating to see this football team. We continue to talk about complementary football, and it's not here. And in the most important aspect of, you know, you work through the week, you work on certain things, and those things don't happen in practice. So now you have to scrap that week of practice. Like whatever you did, whatever the message was, it didn't resonate. So now you have to go back to this bye and figure out a way to practice and prepare and have that show up on game day. It just hasn't been the case so far this season.
Let me ask you something. If I told you Jakobi Meyers, Brock Bowers are going to be out for this game, what would your game plan be? You script the first 10 to 15 plays, right? What do you think your game plan would be?
2.
Number 2, right? The running back, Ashton Jeanty.
2.
Over and over and over. That did not happen, and I think this is where we started to go wrong right out the gate. 4 attempts in the first half. 19 rushing yards in the first half. That's not even a product of being down 14-0 early. That's a product of the very first drive. He had 1 attempt. That was in the script. 1 attempt. That's where I'm a little bit lost as far as what the plan was coming in, because we planned to beat him with Trey Tucker. We planned to beat him with Michael Mayer. No,
that's
Ashton Jeanty wasn't in the plan.
That's a phenomenal point. Because when you talk about the first 15, you mean to tell me we scripted these first 15 plays with the 2 best playmakers on our team, and Brock Bowers and Jakobi Meyers out on the sideline with sweatsuits, and number 2 got the ball 1 time? In the first 15, that is crazy. And then not only that, when you look in the first half, he was getting 4.8 yards.
Yes.
He had 4 carries for 9. He's getting yards. So I don't know.
No targets in the passing game.
This is just, and that's the part to where it's frustrating because we can put a better product out there than what we are shown with the players that we have.
Without a doubt.
So does this go back to re-examining the preparation, as JJ says, like in the bye week? You know, when you see that your star running back, who really is the star on this team as far as the offense is concerned, doesn't get the ball early, that's a preparation issue. That is some sort of lapse in the plan. So do you really go back in the bye week and try to look at, like, what is our initial plan coming out in the first drive?
And the one thing that I hate, but identity. Who are you?
We don't know.
Like, we don't know. Who are you? And after a couple of weeks, you have to understand that Ashton Jeanty with Brock Bowers being out, and I know Brock is the guy. I mean, he's the one weapon we have that can be single team, double team. Everything kind of feeds off of Brock. But once you know Brock is not in the football game and you have a young football player that you can run some things through, and he's been successful, he has great skill sets, he needs to be the guy. And so we're not fooling anyone. You just line up, try and figure out a way to put, 12 personnel, put 22 personnel, feed him the football in either the passing game or the running game. I think we'll be a far better off at this point.
Not only that, even when Brock was in the game, our offense this season has been at its best when 2 has been at its best.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, passing game when he's balling, running game when he's balling, our offense is moving the ball. How do we go into a week and say, hey, man, I think these first 15 good?
Without two,
is it outthinking yourself? Like, hey, we don't want to be one-dimensional. Obviously, Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo is going to come in and stop the run. And so we're going to try to twist it up on a little reverse psychology. Do you think there was some of that almost outthinking yourself rather than like, yeah, they know we're going to run the ball, but we're going to do it anyway because your best player needs to have the ball? Is it that simple?
So that's where I come to the physical part about it. Yes, that's
outthinking yourself. No, the name of the game is when we had a chance to put in a ticket at the draft, they said, Genty.
Yeah.
That's who they took. So him walking into the building, we should be getting him the football.
Especially after this last couple weeks he's had,
coming along.
Yeah, he's been coming along.
Let's take a look at the first half. So this game was over in the first half. Look at the difference between the Kansas City Chiefs, who came out the gate slow in this season and now are playing like the AFC champions that they were last year. 42 offense. We only ran 14 offensive plays. Look at the time of possession, EA. You will not win a football game when the other team has the ball more than twice the time that you have the ball in your hands. And third down, we did not have a first down. Like on third down, we did not convert in the first half. They were almost 100% on third down. Yeah. They went 5 of 6. Look at the total yards.
So we had
275.
We had one first down in the second half.
1 first down in the second half, 3 total, and they had 21. I mean, that is a lopsided.
This is Andy and Patrick Mahomes you're allowing to have the ball. And I think the Chiefs' starting point was like the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
So they were having these massive drives.
They set a record, EA. They set a record for the most amount of 80-plus yard drives in the first half in their franchise history.
Yeah,
they went for 80 yards or more 3 times in the first half. So our kicking game was, we've been talking about getting the kicking game right. They had it right.
Been on.
If anything, special teams, cool.
Special teams.
Mike, you did a good job. You had them down starting, at the 10 or below.
Right.
And they still marched down the field. There's everybody did not execute.
Right.
It was offense, it was defense. And to get more on this, more perspective, let's go out to the man who called the game. Jason Horowitz, now from Raider Nation Radio, joins us. And look, we have you on during these tough losses sometimes because, you're there calling every game, but you have great perspective. Where do you even begin, Jason, when you try to summarize what this was, what we saw today?
Well, Amber, I have made the request to come on during wins before, so
yeah.
I hope to join you guys on one of those sooner rather than later. No, this is, look, the reality, when you lose 31-0, and you guys were just talking about the stats and some of the historical numbers you guys just gave, things the Chiefs have done for the first time in there, all those things, the reality is it could have been worse. Patrick Mahomes didn't play a snap in the fourth quarter. Gardner Minshew didn't throw the ball. They took a knee before the 2-minute warning. All of those numbers that happened, you are a home team broadcast, and that is something that Kirk and I take pride in, and we love this team, and we love this franchise, and everyone listening, the same thing. But there weren't a lot of things that were positive today, and that sounded like an obvious. And, a lot of times we've called some losses. This is my 4th year here. We've called a bunch of losses, but unfortunately, over the last few weeks, the way that the losses have happened have been harder to take than some of the last couple of years.
I know this is about opportunities, and Pete talked a lot about that going into this week, about this is an opportunity to perform for the Chiefs. How do you think this coaching staff and the message will resonate after a game like this?
That's a tough question. I think the message is one where it's like, hey guys, get away for a little bit. Let's try and just forget everything that's going on right now. Let's take the bye. We all need it, right? And now on top of everything else, you thought you needed the bye to get Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers healthy, but now, we'll see what happens. But there were 3 defensive starters who were lost in this game. Adam Butler on the opening drive, Max Crosby in the second quarter, and then Isaiah Polamau was carted to the locker room in the fourth quarter. So you have all of that on top of the way that the loss happened. So now you have all these bodies, plus Colton Miller, who's on IR. He still has to miss at least one more game. So now you're starting to rack up all these players that are so important to this team who aren't able to play, maybe, on top of the way that the loss is. So the message, I think, Pete Carroll, I love his messaging all the time. I really buy into all the things he talks about. But if it were me, I would say, hey, let's spend 72 hours away from each other. Let's not talk about any of this. Let's refresh. And let's try something totally different a week from now.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jay, because, I've went into the bye week on a loss before, and you don't want to see nobody. You telling your parents and all that, everybody on my team stinks at me. So, I understand that. But at the end of the day, man, like watching this football team play, it's really, really frustrating. And I know we always try to shed light on the Raiders and we try to bring some positives, but it's really, really frustrating when we're not putting our players in the best situations to make plays. Yep. We have a star-studded running back in the backfield that we drafted, and we're not putting him in position to make plays, especially in the games that we have been losing. Like when you're calling the game, like, what are you seeing? Why aren't they getting him involved?
Yeah. Well, so to that point about Ashton, right, it was 14-0, and Kirk and I looked at each other at the playlist. And, the Raiders had run, I believe, 10 plays. One of them, Geno had a center quarterback exchange where it was fumbled. They had run the ball one time. Right? And so if you're Chip Kelly, if you're this offense and you've got Ashton Genty and you know that you've turned it over, you need to get, they hadn't done that. And it's 14-0, and now you're playing from behind, and the game maybe changes a little bit. But that kind of stood out, right? So with what you're talking about, that was something that stood out. I would say this. If you are looking for positives, right, in a 31-0 loss and all the numbers that you just gave out, I would say there are a couple of things that stand out as like, hey, maybe it could have gone differently with this, this, and this. And it goes on the first drive. Right, Geno threw a bullet to Dante Thornton on a crossing route. It was 3rd down and 6, 3rd and 7, something like that. Would have been a first down on the opening drive on the Chiefs' 32, 33-yard line, called back for a holding. Right, the defense, opening drive, they forced the Chiefs what would have been a field goal attempt. Instead, you get a fresh set of downs with a holding in the end zone, right? So, like, there were plays that they made that were then called back for penalties. And, if 2 of them go this way, whatever, right? Maybe you have a different story. Maybe Jonah Laulu, again, you don't expect Jonah Laulu to have an interception, but he had done a beautiful job dropping back, had it in his belly, and he couldn't hold on, right? So there's all of those that were there. What happens moving forward, I don't know.
What's interesting is now, a decision does have to be made in the bye week. Like, do you stick with Geno Smith? Because everybody is calling for Kenny Pickett. He was a first-round draft pick. Yeah. Well, we saw Kenny Pickett today, and it didn't go great. First snap, he fumbles it. So where do you think that discussion goes? Do you think that, I think Geno Smith was supposed to be, Jason, kind of the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. Like, let's bring in a guy that's, give him a second chance here. He's going to do great. Now it's like, oh, Kenny Pickett's going to be the Sam Darnold. I mean, where does this conversation go, and is it realistic?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I'd say it was fair to say that we saw Kenny Pickett. Like, we saw him take snaps, and we saw him do some, but that wasn't really like, a fair shake for all of that. So I don't know that I would say that was fair. But no, I wouldn't put today on Geno Smith. I think Geno made play. I was kind of alluding to it, Amber. Like, he made some plays, and they were called back for penalties. And the reality of after that is, like, some of the other aspect of this is 14-0, 21-0, and and then the game's kind of over. So, no, I do not expect that to be the change. But there are some changes that have to be made, and the question is going to be, where are they going to make those changes, right? But here's the other thing, too. Assuming the bye week and the extra week gets Brock Bowers back healthy, right? Healthy-ish, where he hasn't played for 5 weeks, including the bye and then then maybe you get a chance to see what this offense looks like we saw week 1, right? Geno Smith threw for 362 yards in that opening game on the road, and it seems like forever ago, but it was there. I would like to see it together as a whole before making any decisions on that part. But their offensive line, questions that they have to figure out, that part's not. And then the other part to this, too, when you talk about decisions, guys, the trade deadline's coming up, right? It's a 2-5 team who's been blown out on the road 3 times by a lot, right? The last 2 games, 40-6 and 31-0 by 2 of the better teams in the AFC, but we weren't competitive. So the trade deadline's coming up. Those are some of the decisions they're going to have to make too.
So really quick, Jay, because we had 96 yards total offense.
Yep.
In the game. 4 quarters. And I know you said it wasn't Geno Smith. Who was it?
Well, I mean, JJ, I mean, come on, man. Like, that's not fair.
I'm just saying.
That's a tough one.
I'm just saying.
No, I mean, listen. But in all, I mean this in all fairness, right? You go to the Bears game and the defense bailed the team out, right, and kept them in the game. The Bears had 3 drives in the first half where they started on the plus 25, and the defense allowed 6 points on those 3 drives, right? Then the first play of the fourth quarter is a pick, and they, like that one you could say, okay, that's number 7. So go back to that opening drive, right? He makes the 3rd down pass. It's a beautiful pass. He steps up in the pocket. He fires to Dante Thornton, delivers, holding call. Now it's 3rd and 17, right? They get they're down 14-0. Running play to Ashton Genty. It's going to be 1st down right at midfield. Holding call. 2nd and 17. That's not him, And then then there's pressure off the edge, and Chris Jones, who really dominated the middle when he played the first 3 quarters. To me, that's. Again, I understand your point. We had less than 100 yards of offense, and we had 2 first downs against their first-team defense. I get everything you're saying. To me, that's not him. Today, that's not the problem. You could say that about 4 of the other losses. Not today. That's my perspective. You're in a team's ring of honor. You get a lot more perspective than I
do. Last one for me, Jay, is you've seen
and you're in the Hall of Fame.
Listen, no. You've seen every play up close and personal. And offensively, do you think the marriage between the play caller and the quarterback where it needs to be at this point?
No, and I'm not even sure what the adjustments are there. I think Kirk talks a lot during the broadcast, and he has for weeks now. It's not just today. About maybe getting Geno a chance to run a little bit.
Yes.
We haven't really seen that.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's some of that. You want to get Ashton on the outside. We haven't really seen enough of that either. But I mean this wholeheartedly. The biggest question, one of the biggest questions coming into this season for the offense was really about the wide receiving core as a whole.
You're right.
And that was with Jacoby Myers and at one point with Amari Cooper. Now, that was short-lived, but he was on this team for a few days, and you brought him in because you didn't think maybe that the wide receiving core was quite there. And today you take Jacoby Myers away, and you're relying on a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick and Dante Thornton last week. He only had 2 snaps. Today he's forced down the field a lot, and it didn't seem like he and Geno were really on the same page a lot when they were trying to go that direction. So I'd say no, it doesn't feel like what you're asking is on the same page. But I also wonder from the outside perspective with who he's throwing to if it's the right mix also.
A lot of unanswered questions. They're going to have to do a lot of inward, self-examination during the bye week. But Jason, we appreciate the call. You know what? We're going to have you on after the Jaguars win. We're going to do that. We just took a vote.
You did a great job today, Jay.
Yeah, great job. You and Kirk Morrison.
I feel like we were lengthy today. You're welcome.
We were lengthy today. Thanks a lot, Jason Horowitz. We'll see you after the bye against the Jaguars. You're in the Ring of Honor at the Packers? Okay. Let's go to break, and we're going to hear from Pete Carroll about his team not being competitive today. Not like Pete Carroll. We'll hear from him coming up next on Raiders Game Day. Raiders Game Day is brought to you by America First Credit Union, the official credit union of the Las Vegas Raiders. Allegiant, the official airline of the Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights, only at Allegiant.com. Modelo, a reward for those with a fighting spirit. Modelo, the mark of a fighter. Drink responsibly. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois. And by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. Welcome back. The Raiders lose 31-0, shutout for the first time since 2023. They are now 2-5 on the season. They lose to the Chiefs. And one thing we thought about Pete Carroll, and we know about Pete Carroll, is he puts competitive teams on the field. Today we didn't see that, and he's taken the podium now to address the media.
This was a game that didn't see coming. We had prepared really well. We were tuned into it, and I can't imagine. I couldn't imagine that the guys that weren't able to play in this game would make that much of a factor. I just didn't feel that in our preparation. But they're a terrific team. They did everything like they do, and they played really well in all phases and kept us totally at bay. We couldn't make a first down and couldn't get off the field, and they just did like they do. And so. When we have a lot of work to do, and we have a lot of catching up to do, and we got to get our guys back. The key guys that missed the game are key guys on our football team, and we weren't able to overcome that. And it seems like there was a factor in there. We were trying our ass off to get first downs and trying to get off the field. They had a bunch of third and, I don't know, maybe half dozen third and threes or less, and they converted most all of those. And it just keeps them out there and keeps all those good players having another shot at you. And we needed to play differently to have that chance. And so today. So this is, to me, this is not like the statement of whatever. This is just we got to realize what we're up against, and we got to get our guys back, and we got to play the game well, and we have to get back on track.
In that first quarter, Ashton got one carry in the first quarter. I understand that the Chiefs had a lot of plays, obviously long, prolonged drives. But when Ashton Jeanty, especially on a day where you're missing a couple of guys, when Ashton Jeanty carries the ball one time in the first quarter and 4 total in the first half. No, I understand.
No, help me out on that.
10.
Seriously.
It was,
yeah. Okay, so we had the ball 10 snaps in the first quarter because we couldn't make first down, we couldn't stop them. So it's just not one thing. Like we came into this game really wanting to run the football, figuring that would be a key element of this makeup of this game, but we just couldn't get there, and we didn't change our mind about that at all. We didn't miss that thought. We just couldn't get in charge of the down and distance well enough. It wasn't what they were doing on the other side, but other than the fact that we didn't have the ball very long. So it just was a storm. They're doing everything they can to keep the ball moving, and we miss our opportunities. And all of a sudden, like you said, there's 10 plays in the first quarter, and we're out of luck on getting the rhythm we wanted.
You guys have scored 6 or fewer points in 2 of the last 3 games. What do you see as the biggest issue there? Is just this lack of continuity all around? Just what's been the biggest issue?
Yeah, it feels like we're not finding the plays that we need, to chunk in between the routine part of the approach where we're throwing the ball underneath, we're getting some completions, we're running the football, but the chunk plays don't seem to be appearing for us, and that makes a difference, and you look at their first drive, and he scrambles around, and I think it's Kelsey he finds in front of their bench. That's a huge play, typical play for them, but it's those kinds of plays that change the field position. They had a reverse in another sequence, that gets them 25, 30 yards. It's those chunk plays that change the rhythm of the drive, and those just have gone quiet for us. And when we play really well on the other side of the ball, like last week, it wasn't apparent, but it's still, we were not really making the big plays last week either. So it just depends on how the game goes, and keep picking this one apart. That's what you guys do. You gotta do it.
Is there, do you feel like when the lack of, big plays, is that more of a play calling thing or just, how defense are playing? You guys kind of what's...
Well, we would like to call some plays that would get, to give those ops, but we did try some, and sometimes they're not there, and we take the completions, we keep going. We're thinking to play in this game against a really good club, we were going to have to hold the football and make sure that we made first downs and moved it and used the clock. The clock went the opposite way, and much to their value and what they could do on offense.
How much would you attribute the lack of success or keeping their drives going through the penalties that the Raiders committed?
Yeah, we didn't we have a couple third down stops when we go back out there as first down? Well, those are huge plays in the game, they're 8 points worth of the first 14 probably, and maybe they kick a field goal, and so those were huge, and also the first and penalties that we had first and 20, I don't know, 3 or 4 times it seemed like, and those are really hard to overcome against a good club, and so when you add all that up, it's a storm like we saw today, and unfortunately it's hard to take. What did happen, and what was clear to me, was the mentality of these guys trying to fight their way back into this opportunity to try to get something going. Whether it was at halftime when we talked about we need to get one score and get moving, we need to get one stop and get moving. Throughout the game, and as you talk to the defensive guys, you'll hear them. They were in it the whole time. They're trying to get the ball the whole time. And wasn't there 3 or 4 opportunities where the ball was in our hands and bouncing around? I mean, those are the plays that you make in a game that gives you the chance, the momentum shift, and all that. I mean, that's nothing. reinventing the wheel here, but we need to capitalize on those moments, in particular against a really good club like this that plays really good football.
You're missing a couple of players coming in, but you lost some. Can you talk about the impact of those injuries, especially Max Crosby?
Yeah, well, Max has had a bit of a sore knee, and it just I don't know how it happened today in the game early, but he wasn't his full self, but he could play and he wanted to be in there and he wasn't. But then we had to yank him, because he just didn't look right. Somehow Adam Butler, his back just spasmed up in pregame and he couldn't play. Jacoby, we worked him out and tried to get him out there and he couldn't go. Wasn't quite right, and so. That's a lot of really good players, and we need everyone we can get, and so it was hard anyway. But there's a lot of other things that happened as well.
Was JPJ hurt? I just noticed he came out.
No, we took him out.
Okay.
To give Alex a shot.
And then when at 2-5, Pete, coming into a bye week, do you switch attention more for future, maybe looking at younger players, or is your focus still totally 2025?
We've always done that. We've always given the younger guys some extra opportunities in these practices because they've missed opportunities, and so we've always done that. But we're moving ahead. This is the next game coming up is huge to us, and so we'll be preparing for that simultaneously.
What did you feel the issue, aside from the penalties on some of those third downs defensively, just overall the defensive issues and not being able to get them up?
Yeah, they executed really well with their short passing game and were able to get catch and fall forward, and make the first, and they weren't very long. We didn't have them in long situations, so that allows you to throw the quick rhythm passing stuff and get 5 and 6 yards, and it's a conversion. And they were able to do that. You saw us. We jumped up after we saw what was happening, and we made a couple adjustments, and Patrick made a couple calls. We had the balls hit our guys, and they threw right at us. We banged them off us, And those were the same concepts that were working earlier. So we found some ways to get those stopped, but we didn't capitalize on them like we needed to in a game like this.
Talk about the potency of Kansas City's offense, especially with Rashee Rice coming back.
Yeah, they have, like I said earlier, they have so many good players in that position that you can't tell which one from the other. They're all good. They're all fast. They're shifty. They're explosive. And they make things happen. So I know that they tried to get him a play in their special play down. I think it was down by the goal line or something like that. But they're all good. Every one of those guys are good. And you put Kelsey in the middle of all that stuff. It's a hard group to deal with.
Pete, when Geno,
excuse me, I would think that teams facing them coming up better be ready. It's a very, very good-looking football team today.
When Geno has had his most success, it's play action, it's under center, and there's been a lot with him in the gun. Would you like to maybe see it adjust more to?
We're doing that, Hundo. That's in the game plan. We didn't get enough plays today. We're already in there. Yeah, I believe in that too. We're on the same page.
You guys good? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, so Pete Carroll now has a week to make some adjustments, try to get back and have a competitive football team against the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to take a break. When we come back, JJ and EA are going to break down some of the missed opportunities in this game. That's coming up next on Raiders Game Day. And so the Raiders lead Arrowhead at 2-5 after being shut out by the Chiefs 31-0. No turnovers for the Raiders in this game as far as forcing them. There were some missed opportunities. And to break down the film, we head over to EA and JJ.
All right, Amber, all week long, Coach Pete talked about opportunity. The opportunity to play against the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the best coaches in all of football, Andy Reid, and of course, the all-time, all-Madden, all-star quarterback. So Patrick Graham's going to devise some schemes here defensively. You stack the line of scrimmage and you back some guys up and hoping that you can make Patrick Mahomes make a mistake. And when he makes a mistake, you got to make him capitalize.
Absolutely.
And I tell you, we're going to roll it right here. This is a great disguise here. You want to drop that
Oh,
tackle.
we got him.
Hey, we're talking about this could be a pick six right here.
Yeah, we got him.
It's proven. When you have opportunities like this would change the game. 14-0, could have been 14-7. At least we could have stopped the drive, but this is another opportunity for our defense to get off the field with a turnover, give the ball back to the offense.
And that drive ended in a touchdown.
Right? So, once again, we're going to find a way to get it done. We're going to drop our safety in the box, right? And not only did he not get the ball and catch it, Juju Smith-Schuster gets the first down.
And not only that, it was 3rd and 14.
Right, perfect. We're dropping. Man, pick that ball.
That's 3rd and 14.
You're a professional football player. Let's get that. And once again, we're going to do a great job of rounding to the ball. What are we talking about? All right, punch it out, get it out. when you're hustling to the ball, be aware it's going to come out. People are going to punch. And I know he's been having a really good year. He's really frustrated with that. But the missed opportunities today could have really kept us in a ball game against a very good Kansas City Chiefs football team.
And not only that, that's 3 turnovers that we could have had.
Yes.
Right? So who knows what our offense would have did with those turnovers as well.
For sure.
But you talked about Andy Reid and Patty Mahomes.
Yep.
They had our number today. And they had our number today on some screen pass, getting the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands fast. Right here you're going to see 2nd and 10, right?
Yep.
You got the running back coming on this whip route, we used to call it, screen underneath. You got the lineman getting out. That's 10 yards a pop. That's 10 yards a pop. And whenever you got your linebackers covering your running backs, you know it's going to be hard on the linebackers. But this is a great design. You see 85, the tight end with a really good pick route, so the running back can come underneath and make a play on the screen. And then again, Patrick Mahomes getting the ball out of his hands. And not only that, this was a tempo play.
Yeah.
Got the ball out of his hands.
Look at all the big dudes down there.
That's 20 yards. That's 20 yards of getting the ball out of his hands extremely fast with him and Andy Reid designing these. And then right here, look at this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's 3rd and 14. Man.
Time to
what
go
you
to the field.
expecting on 3rd and 14?
Yeah.
You expecting screens on 3rd and long,
right.
man.
Screen, exactly.
And that's exactly what they ran, and they got the 3rd and long. Really good play call by Andy Reid and Patty Mahomes, 1st down, but we have to do better in these situations.
Big guys and little guys. Look at them big linemen out there blocking safeties and linebackers, driving us down the field.
But knowing that's what Andy Reid and Patty Mahomes do. They don't just take shots down the field. It's nickel and dime, it's completions, and it's screens.
Yeah, man.
And we ain't stopped that today.
No,
Amber,
not at all.
We got to get better.
No, we didn't stop it today. And take a look. The Raiders were not able to stop the Chiefs on offense. They had 30 first downs is our one big number. 30 first downs on the Raiders defense. And remember, fellas, this was a defense that was actually the strength of this team and playing very well coming into this game. We felt like this was a defense on the rise. Pete Carroll said anybody who's going to play this team coming up needs to look out because this is a really good football team. And the defense didn't show up today to play against Patrick Mahomes. 6 sacks last week.
And that could have been one of the reasons why the screen game was so prevalent, because the rush coming off of last week, having a great front four getting after it, you throw those screens to keep them off their game a little bit, and they were able to continue to keep the clock. Your number was just devastating.
42 minutes. The Chiefs held the football in a 60-minute football game.
Yeah.
17 minutes.
I ain't gonna lie to y'all though. Everybody been saying Rashid Rice coming back. Rashid, I might care about no Rashid Rice.
You got to give him
Rice
credit.
like that, and they've been missing him underneath.
Yep. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, what does Geno Smith have to say about the lopsided loss? He's going to face the press coming up next on Raiders Game Day. Intermountain Health understands that life can be a challenging game, and mental wellness is vital to our overall health. It takes courage to admit when we're not okay, and even more to reach out. If you or someone you know is struggling or in crisis, call or text 988 or visit strongestplay.com for mental wellness resources.
Good afternoon. Geno, when you have been elite and at your very best, there's a lot of under center, a lot of play action, and I know there was a lot of that in the game plan Pete said today just got out of hand. But how much more would you like to see that? Because it's really playing to your strength.
You know, I think I have a lot of strengths, so I don't think it's one particular thing. I think just I got to play better. I mean, that's flat out. You know, whether it's drop back, play action, quick game, in the run game, got to play better.
A lot of the attention was on the Chiefs' offense. You went against this defense. You guys really struggled against this defense. Can you talk about how tough they were to play against today?
Yeah, I think we beat ourselves for the most part. You think about when we did get some things going, we had penalties that backed us up. We played in some first and 20s. It's tough to do in the NFL. We had about 15 plays in the first half, so we didn't get a chance to get into a rhythm. And then second half, we didn't do much either. So, you know, they're a great team. Historically great team. They've been, you know, together for a while. These guys, they understand what it takes to win, and we're a developing team. And so whenever you come out and you don't, you know, do things the right way and you don't play the right way and you shoot yourself in the foot early on, you don't take advantage of your opportunities, it's going to be an uphill battle, and that's what it was today.
Did things compound themselves? I mean, the more you struggled, did it make it even harder?
It's going to be hard. The NFL is a hard game as it is. It's never going to be easy. We got tough games every week. And so, again, when you don't, play the right way and you don't play up to your standard, it's going to be extremely tough to win games.
Those are hard lessons that, you guys have learned a few times this year with the penalties and shoot yourself in the foot, like you said. At what point does it have to start turning over from becoming lessons that you learned to lessons that you have applied now and are avoiding?
It should have already turned over, in my opinion. Like I said, we're a developing young team. When I look at what's going on, I think about, that's the reason I'm here to help right this thing and help right the ship. And it's tough, man. Mentally, you prepare all week. I thought we had a good week of practice. I thought we had a good game plan going in. I thought guys were focused and locked in. There's something that we didn't, do right to have this outcome. And so there's a lot of soul searching that's got to be done. Every man's got to look within himself. A great coach told me, not to be a finger pointer, but a thumb pointer. And so, I point the thumb right at myself and I say, what do I do to get better? How do I help my teammates get better? And that's the reality. And so I'm working hard. There's not one thing that I'm not thinking about that'll get this thing done. But, I have faith, and that's the biggest thing. I have faith that we'll get it turned around.
I know you don't make excuses, but you're down Colton Miller, you're down Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers. Is there a way to calculate what those losses mean to this offense?
They're great players, but again, man, it's the NFL, man. Guys got to step up. There's no excuses to be made. I'm not sitting here, when I'm out there, I'm not thinking about those guys not being out there. I'm thinking about the guys the 11 guys that we have on the field and how do we execute together to get it done. And again, we're not getting it done right now at any phase. And whenever something looks wrong, I tell you guys all the time, put it on me, because it's not about the guys who aren't out there. It's about the guys who are, and I'm out there. And I got to make the plays, and I got to get it done.
Geno, how do you look at this week ahead, being a bye week? Is it like a good time to recalibrate, or does it come kind of at the right time?
I just want to play football. I just want to play ball. I just want to get to practice. I want to work. I want to figure out how to make this team better. I mean, I care less about a bye week. You know what I mean? I'm just focused on getting better as a player.
Geno, one of the things Carroll mentioned was the lack of big plays that's kind of led to the offensive struggles. What do you think is a tribute to you guys now getting out a lot of explosive plays out there?
I mean, I would have to exactly look at it, but again, teams are playing us a certain way, and first you're saying, sometimes it's, hey, we need more big plays or we need to be more efficient. I mean, it's football, man. Guys got to make plays. A man beat a man. That's the name of the game. I mean, guys get paid on both sides of the ball. They practice, we practice. It's the NFL, man. You got to go out there and make plays. I don't know how else to explain it. Guys got to make plays. It's simple.
You talked in.
All right, so he summed it up. Got to make plays.
Yep.
And he's not worried about a bye week. He wants to get back out there and make it right, and he has faith. And so, look, you got to give Geno Smith credit. He never hangs his head. He does say the right things. He shows some leadership, but he's got to show it now on the field, and he'll have a chance to kind of take stock of where he is and where the team is for almost 2 weeks right now. And when we come back, we're going to take a break here on Raiders Game Day. We're going to take stock ourselves. Where do the Raiders go from here? Where are they going into the bye, and what is the hope coming out of the bye week? That's coming up next. Raiders Game Day has been brought to you by Allegiant, the official airline of the Raiders. Low fares, nonstop flights, only at Allegiant.com. Credit One Bank, the official credit card of the Las Vegas Raiders. Coors Light, choose chill, an official beer of Raider Nation. Celebrate responsibly. 2025 Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And by Twitch, watch, discover, join in. Welcome back, and now as we head into the bye week, the Raiders have a couple of weeks to take stock of where they are, where they can improve. But I want to get your guys' opinion. If you had to sum up what's the first place to start in the bye week here, where would you start, EA?
Well, like the team is saying, we're a developmental team right now. And this next week and week and a half, we have to find a way to accelerate that so we're giving lessons and not taking so many lessons. Because it just seems to me the first 5-6 weeks of the season, we've been getting lessoned. We've been getting taught, and we haven't learned what we're supposed to from those losses. We have to find a way to ramp up the education to be able to be a complete football team and play complementary football and start with things that we know we can do, like run the football and get our running back involved and play from the start, play from ahead. Those kind of things are important for the success of this football team that is still developing, and we don't have much season left. We have to kind of put our foot on the gas and get going here.
And not only that, like bye weeks are really for self-scout, self-evaluation.
Yeah.
All right, get to the stuff that you do well, do it some more. The stuff you don't do as well, get it out. Like yesterday. But not only that, we got to put our players in a better situation to have some success. And that starts with coaching. Yeah. And I'm going to call the coaches out. That starts with coaching because I'm watching Daniel Jones run the ball and throw quick passes. And his team wins some football games because he's not putting his defense in bad situations. But the coach is doing stuff that Daniel Jones does well. We're watching Baker Mayfield. We're watching other quarterbacks that Geno Smith may have a little bit more talent in. But we're not putting them in the situation to really have some success, and we've seen that. So, and I know injuries happen and all that, but we really got to get to our self-scout. We got to figure this out, and we have to put our players in better situations to make some plays. Because like I said earlier in the show, we are a better football team than we're putting out there on Sundays. We really are. So we got to get to some self-scout and get to putting our players in better situations.
It's pretty easy for me just to put number 2 on the play chart for the next,
please,
to start out the Jackson.
If it's 10 plays, at least have them in 5 of them.
Exactly, in the Jacksonville game coming up out of the break. All right, we're going to take a break here. When we come back, we are going to take a look ahead at exactly who they are facing in the next 3 weeks out of the bye. Do they have a chance to turn it around? That's next. This segment of Raiders Game Day has been brought to you by Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, the official soft drink of the Las Vegas Raiders. Welcome back. And so now the Raiders look ahead after this tough loss. They get the bye week, so they get a week off. But then a tough schedule coming up out of the bye. They got the Jacksonville Jaguars as we take a look ahead. That's coming up. That's at home. Now, Jacksonville did not play well this week in London.
Over in their home, away from home?
That's right. They're home, away from home. And then, Denver has been playing some really good football.
Yeah.
It's a tough defense.
It's a good team, really.
It's a very tough defense to go up against, and that's Thursday night football.
Defense
so
got to show up.
It's a chance for the Raiders on prime time to flip the script. And then coming up after that, they got a mini bye week because then they play Dallas on Monday Night Football. So back-to-back primetime games, an opportunity to turn things around. Yeah,
they have some explosive players on that Jacksonville team with Travis. Denver, defensively is really good. And then we get to see those Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys defense isn't looking. Geno Smith can get back on track against them. All right, that'll do it for us. For Eric Allen, for James Jones, I'm Amber Theoharis. We'll see you next time.